What's up, horror community? I'm Stock, and today's video is going to be another why video, and today's is on one of my favorite horror icons of all time, Mr. Jason Voorhees. So yes, Jason is one of my favorite horror icons of all time, and this video is special because I get to talk about him, but it's also special because Friday the 13th and Jason himself is what started this YouTube account. It's part of our, I think, like first 2 or 3 videos we ever released, and the big point for me and Pooh to launch this YouTube was because of when we binged watched Friday the 13th together. So he holds a special place there. But today I'm going to be talking about the character himself of Jason Voorhees and why I feel like he is one of the greatest horror icons of all time. So right off the bat, let's talk about how he separates himself from all of the other horror characters and why I feel like he's a horror icon. And that's because of his silence. And I know what people are going to say, like there's so many horror icons that are silent, that are killers, who don't talk, who don't ever talk. And Jason is one of them. But something I'll credit him massively on is he is so noticeable and so recognizable for being silent. Despite all of the other ones that have come after him, he's held his place as one of the most iconic and famous horror characters ever, and that's saying something right there. And to me personally, he's the best silent killer of all time, besides Michael Myers. But besides him, Jason Voorhees is number 2 for me in that field. Something that is great about Jason, what is so special about him, is his look. And right off the bat, you think of the hockey mask, one of the most recognizable looks ever in horror. You think of that hockey mask, but even before that, he always changes, even if it's slightly, throughout the entire series, through every single movie. And even from the first one, like he's in it for a second, but he's a kid. He pops out of the water. You got the bald young kid look. The second one, he's got the Jason with the sack on his head, and he's got the one eye. And even when he's unmasked, like there's different looks of him when he's unmasked too. And then in 3, he gets his hockey mask. And then throughout it, each time, there's a little bit of a difference. Like there's like a crack in his mask, or just it's a little like darker shaded or something like that. And if you're gonna keep recreating yourself throughout each movie and to make it each one look clean like that, and every single one looks so good for each movie, that's very impressive. Because I can't even say that about Michael Myers, who's my favorite horror icon ever. And he has so many looks to him, but Jason, like throughout the entire series, is just such a strong look. Even in part 5, when it was Roy with the little blue touch, everything they do with Jason, even when it was the fake him, everything they do with his look is just so good throughout the entire series. Talking about all these different looks of Jason throughout the series that I love, I also love what they do behind the mask, behind the look, and that is the actor who portrays him. And there's a handful of different actors who play Jason throughout the series, and every single one of them just do such a good job. I mean, I have my personal favorite as Richard Brooker from part 3. I think he, with the look of Jason in that and his physical performance, I feel like he is the best one. But every single person who plays him just brings their own unique charm to him, and they're all very, very strong. If you're gonna name someone a horror icon, you gotta talk about the story of them, the backstory of them, and who they are, what's their meaning, what makes them stand out. And Jason's story, starting in the original, even though he wasn't the killer in the original, his mom was Mrs. Voorhees, who's also fantastic, but that's a different video. But his story of just who Jason is, of how he drowned as a young kid, and how he came back to avenge not only himself for the counselors letting him die, but for the counselors killing his mother all those years later. And everything with that story aspect, it makes me as the viewer so excited when I see Jason kill the counselors and mess them up, because of just that backstory itself is so strong. And it's not even just that, it's not even just the kills, just the way they've utilized that story is really well done. And I'll say it, one of my favorite scenes they did with it is in part 2, in the second movie, near the ending, when Jason is kind of facing off with the final girl in the movie, and the final girl, dresses up as his mom, wears the blue sweater and stuff like that, and pretends to be her. And Jason, you see an emotional moment from Jason where he kind of tilts his head and looks, and he's confused. And that's all because of his story. That's all because of that strong backstory that he has. He's not just a big giant brute who destroys everyone, which he is, which he does fantastically, but there's so many more layers to him, which I really love. I just can't credit this character enough for just being unique, being different, separating himself from the rest, and how I said earlier, how like he is one of the greatest silent killers of all time besides Michael Myers, in my opinion. I even credit him against Michael Myers because yes, Michael Myers came out first in 78, Jason came out a few years later in 1980, but for him to separate himself so much from Michael Myers being a silent killer and being such a successful silent killer as well, for Jason to separate himself and bring such his own charm to that, it's so impressive to me. Like I said it earlier, but like just the fact that it's just so impressive. I love how Jason is so creative with his weapon choices, with his kills in general. Of course, he's got the classic machete. The machete is a key piece of who Jason is. It's his biggest weapon ever. It's what you associate him with when it comes to what he kills people with. This big machete, awesome, classic as hell, amazing, iconic, all those things. But he also just, the weapons he uses, like he has so many different tools in his arsenal. I'll name a few. Like he's got like a corkscrew. Like he'll use anything in his path. Like he has a corkscrew. I love how he uses like a cleaver or something like that. Whatever he can get his hands on. I love how he takes his weapon and throws it at his person he's trying to kill, and like it hits the wall or something, or goes right next to him. Such awesome visuals. He's just got so many different weapons. Like even in part 3, like he has like that harpoon gun that he shoots the girl right in the eye with. In part 2, he's got the pitchfork, the giant pitchfork, before he got the classic machete. And it's just all those things that he has in his weapon arsenal and how he could kill his victim that makes him so entertaining. And also being entertaining is another key factor of being such an icon. Another thing I love about him is his supernatural ability. And there's a lot of characters that have that, but I love it with him a lot because they use it in a very well way. I just love how he is this like zombie force type of thing, but at the same time, he's like human to the point where you can kill him. But there's always just something that brings him back. Like even in like part 6, which is one of my favorite ones in the franchise, like when it electrocutes his tomb when Tommy and the other guy were going back to his grave and they stabbed him and then electrocuted him to bring him back to life. I love that. I thought it was fantastic, and I love how that just adds more to like how can you kill this force even more. All in all, Jason is a GOAT, guys. He is an absolute legend. Everybody knows who Jason Voorhees is. Like, you could be the farthest freaking thing from a horror fan and you know who Jason Voorhees is. You know who the hockey mask killer is. And for that, for everything I just listed, Jason Voorhees, I gotta hit you with it. I just gotta, because you earned it. I'm about to hit you with the barn burner of a character, because your character is a barn burner. I hope you guys enjoyed this live video. There's just so many aspects that I could talk about Jason. With the fact of him being one of my favorites ever, with the fact of him being one of the greatest, most popular horror characters of all time, he just has it all. Like, he ticks every single box. He's got the look, he's got the franchise, the continued story. He's got so many enjoyable, entertaining movies. Even though they don't do well on like Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff, I have so much fun with like the majority of the movies. He's got a classic freaking theme song that whenever he's stalking his prey that everybody knows. He just has everything when it comes to being a horror icon. I just touched on a few of them. I know there's probably still so many more reasons to why he is a horror icon, but those are just some of my favorites. The Y series videos continue today. I think today was like my fourth or fifth Y video, but continuing to be a blast. I can't wait to keep diving deeper into these videos. Let me know below of what you guys think makes Jason Voorhees such a horror icon, because like I said, so many reasons to why he is. But guys, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Horror 31st out.